one office, 45 men, more than 2 centuries of history. From revolutionaries and generals to lawyers, actors, businessmen, and career politicians. The presidents of the United States have guided the nation through war, economic collapse, social upheaval, scientific breakthroughs, and moments that changed the world forever. Some became legends, some became controversial. All became part of a story larger than themselves. This is the story of every U.S. president from George Washington to the president serving today. Visuals, vast montage of presidential portraits, the White House, moon landing, Civil War, Great Depression, Zivilreitmarsch, Washington.
Chapter 1. Founding the Nation. George Washington, the reluctant leader who established the presidency and set democratic precedents. John Adams helped secure independence and navigated a young nation through international tension.
Thomas Jefferson expanded the nation with the Louisiana Purchase and championed individual liberty.
James Madison, known as the father of the Constitution, he led the country during the War of 1812. James Monroe, the Monroe Doctrine signaled America's growing influence in the Western Hemisphere.
Chapter 2. Expansion and Conflict.
John Quincy Adams promoted national development and infrastructure projects. Andrew Jackson, a populist leader whose presidency remains both influential and deeply debated. Martin Van Buren faced the Panic of 1837 and the nation's first major economic crisis.
William Henry Harrison served the shortest presidency in U.S. history.
John Tyler established important precedents for presidential succession. James K. Polk expanded U.S. territory dramatically after the Mexican-American War. Zachary Taylor, a war hero who served a brief presidency. Millard Fillmore signed the Compromise of 1850 during rising sectional tensions.
Franklin Pierce struggled with the growing conflict over slavery.
James Buchanan presided over the nation as it moved toward civil war.
Chapter 3. Civil War and Reconstruction.
Abraham Lincoln preserved the Union during the Civil War and issued the Emancipation Proclamation. Andrew Johnson led the nation through the difficult early years of Reconstruction. Ulysses S. Grant, a Union general who worked to protect civil rights during Reconstruction. Rutherford B. Hayes ended Reconstruction with the Compromise of 1877.
James A. Garfield. His assassination shocked the nation and spurred civil service reform. Chester A. Arthur helped modernize the federal civil service system. Grover Cleveland, the only president to serve to non-consecutive terms. Chapter 4. America becomes a world power.
Benjamin Harrison expanded the Navy and admitted several new states to the Union. William McKinley led the nation during the Spanish-American War. Grover Cleveland, regulating railroads and intervening in labor disputes.
Theodore Roosevelt, a progressive reformer who expanded presidential power and conservation efforts.
William Howard Taft later became Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Woodrow Wilson led the nation through World War I and promoted the League of Nations. Warren G. Harding promised a return to normalcy after First World War. Calvin Coolidge oversaw economic growth during the Roaring Twenties. Herbert Hoover faced the onset of the Great Depression.
Chapter 5. Depression, War, and the Cold War.
Franklin D. Roosevelt guided America through the Great Depression and World War II. Harry Truman made pivotal decisions at the end of World War II and during the early Cold War. Dwight D. Eisenhower expanded the interstate highway system and managed Cold War tensions. John F. Kennedy inspired the nation during the space race. and faced the Cuban Missile Crisis. Lyndon B. Johnson passed major civil rights legislation and expanded social programs. Richard Nixon opened relations with China, but resigned after the Watergate scandal. Gerald Ford sought to restore trust after Watergate. Jimmy Carter brokered the Camp David Accords and emphasized human rights.
Chapter 6. Modern Era.
Ronald Reagan, a former actor who reshaped conservative politics and challenged the Soviet Union. George H.W. Bush led the nation during the end of the Cold War and the Gulf War. Bill Clinton oversaw economic growth and budget surpluses in the 1990s. George W. Bush led the country through the aftermath of the September 11th attacks. Barack Obama, the first African-American president, serving during economic recovery and major healthcare reform. Joe Biden focused on pandemic recovery, infrastructure investment, and international alliances. Donald Trump, a businessman whose presidency brought major political and cultural shifts, returned to office in 2025.
From the wooden teeth of Washington to the digital age of modern politics, the presidency has evolved with the nation itself. Each president inherited a different America. Each left behind a different America. Wars were won and lost. Economies rose and fell. Rights were expanded. Crises were confronted. And through it all, the office of the president remained one of the most powerful and scrutinized positions on earth. The faces changed. The challenges changed. But the story continued.